Hello everyone, this is RadTechShoe, and in this video we're going to be doing my rad review for Final Fantasy 15. We're going to be going over things I do and don't like about the game, and I will give my overall score and rating at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. So first off, I'd like to talk about the story. The story follows the adventures of Prince Noctis as he's leaving his kingdom, leaving his dad, the king, behind, and he and his friends are going to go overseas and go eventually meet his fiancée, Lunafreya, and then they're going to get married. However, there are some problems arise. An ally kingdom called Niflheim betrays him and his father, lays siege to the capital city, and pretty much kills the father. And at that point, Noctis has to fulfill the prophecy that he was given when he was a child of him being the one true destined king, pretty much the king of all kings in the history of his country. And he has to go to these royal tombs and gain the weapons and powers of previous kings of the past. There are 13 weapons in total, and not only that, but he also acquires the blessings of these gods, which are pretty much your summons, and we'll go over our summons and the weapons in a minute. But basically, it's all about him taking back the kingdom that he was screwed out over when the Niflheim attacked and betrayed. So now he's got to take back what's rightfully his. So the story is pretty straightforward. It's not like overly amazing or nothing. I didn't really, I wasn't blown away by it, but there are some elements of the story that I do enjoy. I just think that the story in and of itself was not too bad. Now we're going to move on into the combat system. The combat system is relatively unique to this game. I wasn't a fan of the combat system. It feels a little difficult to really grasp the fundamentals of the game. You're gonna get basically, it's not the standard turn-based RPG, nor is it live real time. They're not standing in a line. You're not standing in a line and attacking enemies. They're not standing in a line waiting to attack you. It's pretty much free roaming chaos, and you can be completely swarmed, overrun, and it can be pretty hectic to try and learn and get the timing down on when to block, when to parry, when to counter, and stuff like that. So the combat system can be a little frustrating for beginners. This game, has the slogan of being a Final Fantasy game for old-time fans and for beginners. But the combat system I see as something that can actually turn away the newcomers. Like, newcomers probably won't like it all that much, to be perfectly honest. And I can easily see that being a problem for a lot of people. Now, when it comes to the weapons that the Prince Noctis has to acquire from the kings of old, this is actually one of the more unique aspects of the combat system. These are called royal arms. Noctis can equip them, and when he attacks with them, they actually slowly start to drain his life. Which is okay, because once every battle ends, you instantly start to replenish your health up to the max health that you're at. However, you can have your health permanently reduced until you activate certain items like an elixir or something to restore your health. The combat system is very different from what I was expecting, but it's not too unwelcome in all aspects. I just feel like the fundamentals and the core mechanic of it is very confusing and frustrating to deal with. However, the Royal Arms is rather fun. It's interesting to see just what this game can do and what it can offer for you, but like I said, at its core, the combat system is a little confusing. The next thing about the combat system that I wish was highly improved upon was the summons. I am very, very disappointed with the summons in this game. The summons in this game are easily the most unenjoyable I've ever experienced in a Final Fantasy game. Granted, I haven't played them all, but out of every Final Fantasy game that I have played, these summons were the most undesirable and most, unenjoyable. What it is when you're running around, you can't manually summon them. You have no control over them being summoned manually. What you have to do is in the middle of battle, you have to fulfill certain criteria, like having everyone in your party but you die, or you being close to death, or the battle dragging out for extended periods of time. And then maybe, just maybe, once you fulfill these requirements, just maybe, you might get the opportunity to summon. Now, when you conduct the summon itself, the summons themselves are pretty cool looking. I'm not going to lie. It's very badass when they're summoned, but since I have no control over them, I'm not a huge fan of what I'm not a huge fan of their summon conditions. I don't like added stipulations. I would have liked to have been able to summon them manually, or at least have them more frequently summoned. But to this point, I beat the entire game because you only have 4 that you can summon regularly. I only ever summoned 2 of them throughout my entirety of the main storyline. I only ever summoned Rama and Shiva. I never summoned Titan or Leviathan at all during the main storyline. It wasn't until after I beat the game where I finally summoned Titan once. I summoned Titan once after I beat the game. And I still have yet to summon Leviathan, so you can tell how frustrated and disappointed I am based on my tone when it comes to these summons. I love summons. Summons are always one of the cooler parts of Final Fantasy games, and I really feel like they missed the ball on this game. I was not a huge fan of just what they did with the summons in this game, and I truly feel let down by this game's summon mechanic. I really don't like it. I think it's horribly done. I just hope that Square Enix never does this again. I hope that they never ever do that again. But for the most part, outside when it comes to the combat system, you also have the in-combat items where you can just hold R2. If you hold R2, the game will actually pause while you go to select an item, and then you go equip it, and not equip it. You go use it on a character, and while the character is using the item, it'll take them like 2 seconds, but the game is still paused for those 2 seconds. So it's actually a nice welcome mechanic built in. The item mechanic, especially during combat, is very useful because your characters aren't just sitting there getting wailed on while you use an item. But other than that, that's it for the combat system. Now when it comes to the visuals, this game is absolutely stunning. This game is very beautiful. I thoroughly enjoyed walking around driving around in the car and not really having to worry about anything else. I just enjoyed listening to the music, and watching the graphics. The graphics in this game are phenomenal, especially during the summons, like I mentioned earlier. However, the audio is kind of okay-ish. There are some definitely good audio tracks. I like the Stand Your Ground battle theme. It's an awesome theme. It's a great battle song. I love it. However, I'm not a huge fan of some of the other battle themes. And towards the end of the game, the tone of the music just changed radically. At least the feeling did, the atmosphere. It became much more dark. And yeah, it became much darker, and I was just not a huge fan of it. But overall, visually, this game is gorgeous. Driving around and just panning the camera around, I did this a lot during my live stream because I was just so taken back by just how amazing this game really is. This game is just absolutely wonderful. There's no denying that at all. And it's just an amazing visual, spectacular masterpiece. I can't even praise this game enough visually on just how good it is. Now, other in-game mechanics or other features, there's a fun little mini game, like a pinball-based game or something along those lines. Not really pinball, but there's a little mini game in here that you can play when you go to the diners. There's also the creature bounty system where you go and talk to these these people that run the cafe or whatever restaurant in the city that you're in. You talk to them, and you can pick up and you can learn item locations. Like, for instance, you can learn where to go farm for certain raw cooking materials. You can also learn where fishing spots are. You can learn where various resources are. And that's an awesome feature. I do like that. I do like that a lot. And I like the fact that, speaking of resources, I like the fact that this game has 4 different mechanics, one for each character. The main character, Prince Noctis, he has a fishing mechanic. He can fish at any fishing spot, and the fish that he picks up can net him rewards if he's fishing at that spot for a particular fish, for like a bounty or a quest. Or he could be fishing just to, get cooking materials for Ignis. Ignis is one of the other members of the party, and he can cook. Gladiolus scavenges items after fights. For instance, when a fight's done, the game will sometimes say like, "Oh, Gladiolus found a Mega Phoenix," and I'm like, "Oh, sweet, cool, Mega Phoenix? Not just a regular Phoenix down, but a Mega Phoenix? That's badass." And Prompto, the gunslinger of your group, he takes photographs. That is actually very cool and fun. I didn't think I would like some of these mechanics. I thought the fishing was going to be a pain in the ass, but I kind of enjoyed it. once I learned how to fish. The photography one is easily the most enjoyable, because there would be random pictures at random angles, and there would even be pictures of like all four of us posing, doing like selfies and stuff like that. Like, it was really fun. I'm not gonna lie, this was one of the more unexpected, enjoyable aspects of Final Fantasy 15, and that was just the photos. The photos that Prompto took were so enjoyable at times. There were selfies, there was fun group photos, there was even photographs of one miscellaneous spirit character that kept randomly appearing in the middle of photographs. Like, they would be like, dude, where was she? She wasn't there. They're like, yeah, Gentiana, she shows up, she comes and goes when she wants. She'll randomly show up in some of your photos, and it's hilarious. And you can even get a trophy for that. Speaking of trophies, that's one other thing I enjoyed, is I thoroughly enjoyed trying to go platinum for this game. Getting the platinum trophy for Final Fantasy 15 was actually fun. It was very fun, a little tedious getting Gladiolus' survival skill, where he scavenges items after battles. Getting that skill up to level 10 was a bit tedious, but other than that, every other skill was rather enjoyable. The Adamantoise battle, which was the last trophy I needed to get platinum, that was actually fun. Even though it was an hour-long fight, I still had fun. This game, I had a lot of fun attempting to platinum this game. I just could not enjoy this game more when it came to certain aspects that I truly did love. There were some things I disliked, like the summons, but the things I liked, I really, really liked. It wasn't kind of like a meh thing. Most of the things that I enjoyed this game, I thoroughly did enjoy. And I enjoyed them wholeheartedly, and it was just so entertaining to play this game, platinum it out, and I really did like it. Now, they've recently introduced a new Game Plus feature, so that you can play the game over as your current level. So right now, all my characters are in their 70s, so that means when I start the new game, I'm essentially going to be an untouchable god for most of the game. That's an interesting feature. There are certain glitches in the storyline that allow you to permanently... There's one glitch that allows you to make a temporary party member. You can glitch the game into her joining you permanently. I never did that because I wasn't into glitches. I'm still not kind of that type of person. I never really do like, glitches and stuff like that. But speaking of party, one of the last things I want to talk about that I actually surprisingly enjoyed was when you start off with Final Fantasy 15, you're in a 4-man party. You and your 3 friends, Gladiolus, Ignis, and Prompto. Throughout the majority of the game, they are in your party permanently. Occasionally you'll have an area where you're all by yourself, or one of them leaves to go do something. But for the most part, they are your entire party. Like I said, a few people will join your party temporarily, but there's no permanent party, join it. There's no one that permanently joins your party, unless you count the RNA glitch, which I don't. It's a glitch. It's not designed to be that way. So your party is consisted of these 4 people pretty much through the entirety of the game. And through that game, you bond with them. You learn more about their characters. Their personalities begin to show. It's a very different approach to the party system that we've had in previous Final Fantasies. Very different. I actually was very surprised to find out that I enjoyed these characters. I initially thought that they were going to be boring characters, but I found out that I was thoroughly enjoying learning more about them each individually. So this game was actually very surprising in that respect. I didn't think I would enjoy pairing up with all 4 of these guys, learning about their relationships, learning that Prompto was actually Noctis's true best friend. Gladiolus was, his family is the bodyguard for the royal family, and he has a sworn duty to Noctis to not only protect him, but also to guide him towards his destiny, even if it means showing him tough love. Ignis is kind of like the more mature, reasonable of everyone in the group. He keeps everyone, he tells everyone to keep a calm head. Learning about all these different personalities was very fun and enjoyable to me. I really did like it. The last thing I want to touch upon is that some of the bosses just don't feel truly evil. Like the main guy, the final boss, yeah, he's evil. But a majority of the enemies I fight up until that point truly don't feel all that evil. They feel like they're just used. They're tools to the final boss's end. That's all it is. So a majority of the game, you're fighting people who, in all honesty, you'd probably be kind of a sympathizer with. You wouldn't really despise them for who they are. They're just good people. They're just being misled and misdirected by the main villain. The main villain itself, the final boss fight, was interesting. I'm not going to say it was great, and I'm not going to say it was shit, but the final boss fight was not too bad. So that's going to do it for this review. Overall, I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10. I think this game is fairly average, fairly decent. There are some aspects about the game that I truly do like and enjoy, and I found surprisingly entertaining. But certain aspects, like the core combat system being a little frustrating, the summons just being completely unreliable and just unfair, you know, when you try to get them to be summoned and you don't, because you're just sitting there, you know. There are several aspects of the game that really hurt my overall opinion. I think this game would have been great if these few areas had been significantly changed. Other than that, though, the game has some very good, strong, entertaining points going for it. But the overall opinion of my overall score of the game has to be a 7 out of 10. I'd love to give it an 8 or a 9, but I just can't. The game itself has issues that I just personally do not agree with. I don't agree with some of the decisions that were made with this game. I don't agree with the combat system being as frustrating as it was, and I don't agree with the summons being as inconsistent and unreliable as they were. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way about the summons. I know a lot of people disliked how the summons were done. But that's going to do it. Overall, Final Fantasy 15, overall score, 7 out of 10. And that's going to do it for my rad review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and the gameplay. If you did, please don't forget to like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you guys all later. This is RadTech Shoe signing off.